Welcome to the FTN show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Forge the Narrative. My name is Paul Murphy. Your host is episode 303. We're all about Lost Souls podcast. I'm joined tonight by Chris Morgan.
40k Reading Rainbow.
Josh Ginn.
Just making the silver pants blue.
And Archon Skari.
The Dark Kin.
Welcome everyone. Got some really nifty things to talk about this week. Some of the stuff that's upcoming, not going to know when we're going to see it. I guess the Black Library Weekender that's coming up. The Darkness in the Blood collectible box set got splashed up on the Warhammer community page. There were some other things too, but I kind of just zoned out as soon as I saw the Darkness in the Blood.
Yeah, I pretty much went into a happy coma right after I saw that.
Yeah. So this
did you have flashbacks to the death barge on Horus's ship? That sort of thing.
Right.
It wasn't a Black Rage kind of a situation.
If there was a buy button, there would have been this slam on the red
one of those buttons that saves you clicks, though.
Yeah. So this is it's a box set. It comes with there's the red book in the picture, I believe to be a journal, like something to take notes in. Which I'll talk about that. Write your paint recipes down. I had a crisis. Well, I'll talk about it later. But a journal with Dante's death mask on it. It says Dante in a book, and then the book itself, and on the front of the cover, it has Dante and Mephiston, and there's a little art print with Dante and Mephiston. Let's talk about that for a second before we go with the rest of the stuff. Chris, what do you think that means?
Well, it's kind of like we talked about earlier, right? It's the buddy cop book that we never knew we needed, but I find it interesting. It's called Darkness in the Blood, right? So you have on the cover of that book, you have Dante with angel wings on the top, walking with kind of like a mirrored reversal beneath with Mephiston in dark tones, sort of sinister red, kind of below. They're both walking towards you, and I'm really interested in seeing what they do with the dichotomy of those two thematic elements, because with both Dante and Mephiston appearing in multiple places in this release, it has me think that they're going to be doing something that relates a little bit more toward resolving some of the issues with the Black Rage. And I wonder if it's going to start bringing in some Primaris stuff to the Twin Curses as well.
Hope so.
It'd be cool if they did kind of add that in.
Yeah, I mean, we know that. I guess we're seeing Primaris continue to take on the traits of the chapter that they represent. It's only a matter of time, probably, and I bet these books start to deal with it. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some evolution in the Blood Angel story, which would be cool. Also, in this picture here, dice where the pips are blood drops and the sixes are the Blood Angel symbols. Where can I get 100?
Well, at least they're easy to read.
I
not
know,
like
right?
squig dice.
Yeah, they look to be solid D6s, and I'm glad to see GW putting pictures on the sixes. That
Yes.
seems to be a little bit of hit or miss.
Yeah, they've done pretty well with that the last few
Finally
releases.
paid off, guys.
So 3 collectible coins. I guess you could probably use them as objective markers or flip to go first. I mean, whatever. I don't know. Looks like a Dante's death mask pin, and then an axe. His axe. It's the Axe Mortalis, right? That's what it is.
Yeah,
Right?
that's the Axe Mortalis.
Axe Mortalis bookmark, a metal bookmark. I can only assume that the haft of the axe, goes on one side of the page and the border goes on the other, and that's how that functions as the bookmark. Maybe. And then an hourglass. Mysterious, what looks like a minute hourglass.
Or if you need, if you're reading while you're cooking your eggs, your hard-boiled eggs or something. That's a thing people do, right?
Whatever. It's cool. It probably has something to do with the book. Something in the book. I wouldn't be surprised. Man, I'm excited.
It's probably $230.
Is that how long it takes to count that high on is that what it measures? I don't know.
Yep.
Seems worth it. I don't know. There's a lot packed in here. 2, what seem to be hardback books. Dice, probably the only place you're going to be able to get it. An art print, some other collectibles, and then a box that it fits in. This seems to be a high quality publication, and I approve of the subject matter.
You and me both, Paul.
Yeah.
Mephiston's been my favorite character since forever. That's kind of where the whole chief librarian thing came for me. And of course, Dante, particularly since his books have been coming out, The Devastation of Baal and his own self-titled book. I say self-titled. Dante didn't write the book, guys. I know that. But
maybe he did. Like what's his name? The guy that wrote Conan said that he envisioned Conan behind him the whole night with a sword above his head, that if he quit writing, Conan was going to kill him.
Mm-hmm. Well, sure, we'll go with that. The Blood Angels book releases always seem to go a little bit more kind of like extra mile to me, and I know that I have my own bias with that, but if you look at some of the other Black Library releases, I mean, there's something about these that just looks like, an old-fashioned encyclopedia, or just that little extra touch of, fanciness and finesse, and it just makes me happy, and it will fit right in with all of my other collectible Blood Angel stuff that I've gotten from Black Library over the years.
Oh man, I'm excited. It's going to be, of course, the preview is going to, or the first chance to get it, I think, from the article said the Black Library weekend are coming up, along with some other things. They always seem to put a lot of effort into that. They get the authors around. I haven't been, but everyone that I do know that has had the opportunity to go has enjoyed it.
Yeah, 100%.
So, no spoilers on when we finally get our hands on it and read it, but I'm looking forward to it a whole lot.
Anybody else pick up a Bandai Marine?
Man,
I would love to, but I can't at the moment.
I didn't, because look, if it came unpainted,
I agree. I thought I was excited to see it, and then when I saw it painted, I was a little bit.
Don't they have an unpainted version?
I think that they're going to release it. Well, look, I don't even know, but this is just the first release. This is the first opportunity to get it, and the first one was an Ultramarine, and I just was not called to pick up the Ultramarine.
So I guess the question is like, obviously I got one. Not to beat the horse or anything, but I'm in the discussion in my mind's eye of like, okay, do I pull it out and repaint it, or do I leave it?
Wait, because there'll be more. It has to be more, right?
No, I don't know, man.
This one sold out in 2-3 days,
right?
And so I don't think that they're. I mean, whatever. I mean, I don't know, but we saw the prototypes and they weren't painted,
right? I mean, don't get me wrong. They may. Who knows what they'll do in Japan with it, right? But over here, I don't know. I picked it up for $100. I figured, who cares? If I don't really want it when I get it, there's definitely going to be somebody out there who will want it. I'm not going to lose any money on it. So
no, it was a smart pickup.
Yeah. And I get it. I could buy an Executioner for it instead of it or whatever. But
I mean, at some point in time, you're never going to get tired of having that Marine on your desk. You're probably not going to display the Executioner forever.
Yeah,
because they are really cool looking. I mean, seeing them up close, at the shows and stuff, they are incredibly cool looking.
Yeah, well, if you have like a nice display case and stuff, I think why not?
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
I think it was wise.
Had it been red, would we be having a different conversation?
8,000. Yeah, it would. I probably would have too.
I can only imagine some of the hobby stuff people will do with them. Like, imagine a Blood Angel one that's like converted to look like a gold-plated warrior with like giant wings. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, I was super disappointed it didn't have a chainsword, but I can only imagine the 3D printing people are going to do. It's going to be insane. There's going to be just add-ons, and it's going to be sick.
It's probably already
people sculpting onto the pads.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can see somebody taking that and doing something really amazing with it. I don't think I'm that person, but more power to them.
No, I mean, 9,000 people bought it
in an instant.
Yeah, it's just a matter of a couple days. That's for sure.
Yeah, I knew they would sell, but I was surprised that quick, to be honest.
You're in good company.
I think the game is a lot bigger than we think, and sometimes it's people who don't even play the game that'll buy these, or giant like resellers that'll buy a bunch of them and sort of like sell them on eBay.
Right, those people.
Well, I hope the people that wanted it got it.
Yeah, I think that's where the printing. I think the amount of them made probably covered that group, right? If you really wanted it, you picked it up the day it was available. So everything after that was the trickle in, like indecisiveness, or like you said, the resellers probably picking them up.
Yeah,
well, I hope they do more with it. And good call. If there ever becomes a blood.
If anything, it just gives us precedent, right? So they've done the little pop figures, they've done this Bandai stuff. They seem to just kind of eking their way into popular culture. So it's not something that we might see apparently right now, but I believe in 10, 15 years when those that are younger grow older, we might start seeing the impact of this sort of like marketing campaign.
Right.
Fair point. Well, Skari, I got you on to talk about the Blackstone Fortress. I know you've been playing this almost like a campaign style, and we haven't talked about it in a while. I know you've been having a blast with it, so I want to get you on to talk about your experiences.
Yes, it has been a lot of fun, and I hope anybody out there who might have heard of Blackstone Fortress or might have the box sitting there in your pile of shame can hear our stories of wonderment and amusement, and hopefully finds the inspiration to # just put paint on it, and then play it, of course.
What have you been having fun with?
Well, it was actually my friend Matt's idea, and he decided that we should get together, play Blackstone Fortress. So we essentially handpicked a group of 5 of us, so myself and 4 others, that we thought would be really fun to play an RPG style game with. And this is just from personalities and things like that we feel would be really fun to just hang out for a couple hours to play a game. I was able to get a copy of Blackstone Fortress and, all painted up and stuff from the local game store, because they had one handy for demos and stuff. And we've done 4 sessions so far. They've all been live streamed on the YouTube channel. So if you kind of want to see how it goes, it's all on there. However, they have been some of the most entertaining, round table games that we've had as a group. Even more fun than playing some 40k sometimes. And it has been laughing and banter and then learning about the immersiveness of the game. Because at first, I'd played the game on and off with simple run through like an expedition, right? But the way the game works is it is very immersive if you want to turn it into something that's more than just a one weekend game or one evening game. And that really surprised me. And I think that's the thing that I've been having the most fun with, is coming to learn that the game itself isn't a dead-end game. It opens itself to so much fun, even though some of the
is that because the stuff is you play through, there's scenarios, so you could play through in one evening scenario 1 and then that be your game experience for that evening, or you could just go immediately into scenario 2.
Well, the way it works is so you pick an expedition of 4 explorers. They recommend you play with 4 explorers. So if you're playing one person, because you can play the game one person if you want, you play with all 4 characters. If you want to play with 2 people, each person picks 2 of the explorers. And the set comes with 7 different explorers. You've got, the Recruit Sniper, you've got the Eldar Sniper, you've got also the Recruit Ranger, the Eldar Sniper, you've got the Rattling Twins, they're like rogues, right? They like stealing stuff. You got the Tank Robot, you've got Janus, who's the Rogue Trader, he's like a swords master, the Priest that's like a healer, and then an Acolyte that's a big flamethrower that's like a damage dealer sort of unit. And the way that you set up an expedition is you essentially go through 8 different scenarios in a row. 4 of the scenarios will be combat based, sort of like an arena with a map and bad guys trying to kill you. And 4 of them will be a series of challenges that some of them are really fun, make a tall tower of dice, one on top of the other, and you've got 20 seconds to do it, and you have to put so many dice in this order up before, and if it topples, you lose the challenge, for example. So it's not just rolling dice. There's some really cool little activity based and clue based challenges in there. And throughout the expedition, you're finding things you can use for money to buy gear, and upgrades to help you throughout the campaign, or you can find clues. And the whole point is to get a series of clues to unlock the journey into the boss maze, which are called fortresses. And each fortress, there are 4 fortresses. Each fortress requires 4 clues to get to. And in order to get to a fortress, you have to go through a series of 6 of these challenges that we just set up, either combats and or challenges, 4 to 6 of them. And so what it does is, when you sit down at the table, you can either choose to tackle a fortress if you want. Say you've got the whole crew, or if you only have 2 players, you can go on another expedition to find more clues. And, it's very open-ended. And I really like that about a board game. It's not closed off, that you can't be very flexible with it.
Tell me how long the first playthrough went. How did you choose your characters? Was there any rhyme or reason? Was it just what people wanted? And then how long is it taking you to progress, and how much more of the game do you feel like is left in front of you?
So everybody picked the character they wanted to because they look cool. There wasn't really much forethought on top of that. So Matt played with the Eldar Ranger, the Pathfinder. We had the Rain and Rouse, which are the Rattling Twins. They were part of the crew. Janus Drake, the Rogue Trader, is part of the crew. And the Navigator, Esperin Loncarno, who's actually really useful character. And it was mostly because they wanted to. Our first run through was about 4 hours long, and we did an entire expedition from start to finish. And this is with us flipping through books and finding the specific rulings and things like that, and then getting back to home base, which is called Precipice, and then trading with the different ships and buying gear. And basically, after you've done your expedition, you grab your entire your character card and all the gear they they've received and all their clues, and you put them in this little like Ziploc envelope that the game includes. It's called a Stasis Chamber, and you just kind of lock it away and put it away until the next time you play, which is pretty cool. So you don't really need to do any paperwork or bookkeeping. It's just all there in game, which is pretty neat. Since then, we've gone on 2 more expeditions. So 2 more about 3.5 to 4 hour long expeditions. Because we're bantering and chatting and having breaks for food, and it's just like a very social experience. And then this weekend, we decided to tackle our first fortress, which was really fun. And
so that's a boss fight, right?
That is one of the boss fights. And all of the explorers almost died. And this final epic confrontation before they basically all ran to the elevator and pressed the button to like get sent home, essentially. So
go.
Exactly. There was so that was very fun. And that's only the first fortress. You know, I have found, being a person who gets really passionate about a project and borderline obsessed about something until I kind of like master it, I've dug into expansions for Blackstone Fortress and different rules and things that you can use. And I was very happy to find that Games Workshop has provided me as a player and us as a group a variety of different rules and additions to the game that'll just expand it, not just the 4 fortresses and then going to what's called the hidden vault, which is like to win the expedition essentially. But you've got side quests you can do in the middle of a big campaign where you go and rescue Astra Militarum Bulgrin, and then once you rescue him, you can hire him on future expeditions, which is really cool. Then you have a big Bulgrin, like a big muscly Bulgrin, like taking hits for you, which is going to be awesome. Or, you know, the Amble expansion, which is the first expansion they released for the game. Gives you the Amble.
It wasn't a fire and forget game. They've continued to support it in White Dwarf and do miniature releases.
100%. And one of the most entertaining things they've released is, I haven't been playing as a character. I have solely been playing as what they call the, quote, hostile player. And I get to control all the baddies. So
Seems
what happened, which has been very entertaining to basically try and kill all the explorers. It's been great fun. But they released a expanded rule set for the hostile player in the May 2019 White Dwarf. It's a simple, like, 2 pages. And in that, it gives you, or gives me as a hostile player, a variety of rules that make it a lot harder for the explorers. So it's a lot harder to kind of mess with the AI, because all the bad guys are on like a chart, a behavioral chart sort of thing that kind of dictates what they do. But it gives me more control over being more of a dungeon master style of persona in the campaign, being able to pick what challenges the explorers decide to like have to go through, or what bad guys they will encounter in a combat, or you know, even give bad guys the ability to do like heroic deeds, like do more damage or come back to life, or different things like this that sort of just spice up the game in like the coolest ways. So overall, it's been a really fun narrative experience. And I highly recommend that if you have a chance to grab a group of friends and sit down, like, try it. It's very fun. And from there, I'm going to start creating my own challenges. It's a tile-based game, so I'm going to build my own maps and probably find a way to add Helions in there in some way. And
so is that supported by the game, or are you just going rogue?
No, that's just me going to go rogue. I just like the fact that the game itself has inspired me to build it further. And we still have a lot of game to go. I think we've done 4 missions so far. We still have 3 more fortresses in the vault to complete the main game. So that's at least 4 sessions. So 6 more sessions at least of, you know, about 3.5 hours. And then from there, if we do the Amble will be a whole session. Trader Command will be a whole session. Finding the Bulgrin will be a session. They just released one where you can help a Flashgit, so you can like hire a Flashgit on your crew. And then the new expansion they released, the Escalation Expansion, which is essentially a whole other game where you have to go in and defeat 4 sort of like chaos rituals, one for each god, like Slanesh and Nurgle and Khorne, and try and stop a big chaos baddie from unleashing the demons everywhere. So let's just say Blackstone Fortress. I talked a lot about this game right now.
No, that's all right. Well, the game itself will set you back about $150 if you get it at full list price. You can, of course, check out some of our sponsors, see about ways maybe to save a little bit on that. And then there are figure sets. So if you want either more of the base figures, you can pick those up. And then there are what I can only assume are, which I've not played this far into it, but you can get additional figures that you know, like be pretty dandy 40k figures too if you needed them, like these Cultists of the Abyss.
Yeah, so they just released, actually this weekend the pre-release went up for the extra Cultists of the Abyss, which you can add, like you can actually make, using the rules for the Blackstone Fortress miniatures for Chaos, you can make full battalion detachments of models from Blackstone Fortress for Chaos. The Chaos Commissar that comes in Trader Command is an HQ choice. The Cultists and the Imperial Guardsmen are all Servants of the Abyss keyword, so you can run them as that keyword for 40k. And they're all the same, alignment. So you can run a battalion if you want. It runs you about 200 points, but you can have a battalion of a bunch of cultists and some commissars, which is kind of fun. And as well as the expansion for Escalation gives you the new Daedalus, for example, or the Daedalus, which is the new Cult Mechanicus character that everyone's adding into their list nowadays, for example. And that's just the miniatures. They also added, there's like a couple of card expansions like Endless Peril or Advanced Arsenal, or even Abominable Intellect, which was just released this weekend, which add extra cards and like gear and challenges. And
but you don't have to get all that. Like that,
no, you don't
kind of stuff that you don't actually have to pick up until you are ready to play with it or just want to. Like
Exactly.
Everything you've talked about up to this point has been in the base game, like the base box. It comes with a ton of figures, the tiles. I mean, we talked about it in the earlier when it was released originally, but it comes with piles of figures and stuff that you can use just as a board game if you want.
Exactly. And to be honest, I'm very happy that I've kind of come back after trying it originally and given it a second chance, but have really given it a proper second chance.
Well, some of that's dependent upon the group that you're playing with. I mean, like it sounds like you're playing with folks that really embrace the spirit of it and wanted to, like, you know, they're having fun trying to rally against whatever you're throwing at them or the, you know, the DMing that you're doing, you know, or they're just really getting into the experience of playing through this adventure. And that's really what it is. It's an adventure. It's a bit scripted, but the first time you're going through it, you can't tell any difference in whether these were all random encounters or not.
Yeah, and it's really cool because we've found a way to essentially not go through two encounters once and do everything. Two encounters twice. So there's enough cards with, you know, yes, I'm using a bit of the expansions, but there's enough cards to go through the entire game without having to do a challenge or combat twice, which is really cool.
And there's also a reward for playing through it. There's a bit of a secret like that comes in the box. One of the cards is sealed. Do not open it until
there is a sealed card at the end of every little quest. So if you do the Amble, there's a sealed one that we haven't opened yet. I don't know what's in it. The one at Trader Command, also sealed. I don't know what that is. I have never beat the game, so I still don't know what's in the hidden vault. And the new expansion has one that's like the size of an entire page sealed envelope, like a giant sealed envelope.
Don't open those when you open your box and start to go through it. Save it, you know, for when it's time.
Exactly.
All right. Well, cool, man. Well, I mean, thanks for sharing that. These are things that I think that, you know, sometimes just the hustle and bustle of trying to keep up with the 40k meta may weigh on you. It may not be what you're into for that month or whatever. So start cracking on one of these games.
Yeah. And there's a few different ones. Like, you know, if you're finding that you need like a little bit of spice in life, you know, a little bit of spice up your game, why not crack open, you know, a box of Battlefleet Gothic or something sometimes? You never know.
Battlefleet Gothic. Hey, I've got one of the old like cardboard tile games.
Yeah.
Armageddon and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I'm not gonna, I feel like that's that is time maybe
that
passed
is for
on
a retro episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. When we talk about that, this is not necessarily a finishing move segment, but I want to reiterate how important it is to write down your paint recipes. So for my buddy's Ultramarines, he has this idea. He wants to have this cool display to where it's in a Colosseum type stuff and, you know, like Roman architecture type things. And it's about as far as we got of completing that is just redoing some of the bases of his figures, where they're all on, just like marble, you know, stuff. So a little bit of texture, getting the plasticard that already has the, what is it, like half-inch squares in it. And we were getting ready for a tournament a long time ago, and we didn't, I don't think we redid every base. I think it was more vehicle based, and so we didn't have that many figures to do. And so now here we are 2 years later, and I can't remember how I painted those bases.
Oh no.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, just change all the bases.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just change all the bases. Yeah, why not? I did figure it out. I eventually figured it out, but it was through a little bit of kind of frustration, complaining on the internet. I didn't really, basically, hashtag gamer problems on my Twitter about, like, here's the base. I have no idea how it came about. Some people offer some suggestions. The base is actually, it's Steel Legion Drab as the base coat, and then Agrax Earthshade in the crevices of the texture. And then that middle coat that I couldn't figure it out is Bane Blade Brown, and then highlighted with bone, Ustavi bone. So I figured it out. Crisis is averted. But it was like 1 or 2 days of racking my brain of staring at 9 browns trying to figure out what the heck I did. Where if I just written it down in my handy dandy notebook, which I have started keeping religiously, I would have not been in that spot.
I was thinking about something similar today when I was fixing a couple of metal models that had been chipped, from like use and whatnot, and how it's kind of hard to, like, when you pick it up close to really make it look like it had not been chipped and then fixed. And I was like, what about people who like do this for a living, and have to take this like ancient painting and try and like restore it to its original color if there's like a whole section missing? It's like, how do you mix the right colors to find the right color? Anyway, just
you have to research. You have to research what they had available. Oh, do you actually want an answer? I don't know if you want.
No. Like, I'm saying that's what I was thinking. Like, it was actually curious. I was like, do you just grab like different colors and like?
No, it's way harder.
Add it in and stuff like that. Like,
than rolling down and getting a pot of Baneblade Brown. You have to figure out what roots and berries they ground up at that time period to make that type of paint, and then recreate it.
I know, but that sounds insane to me. And I was thinking it's probably a lot easier for us gamers because we have a little bit better. But sometimes you paint a model 10 years ago and you used, Commando Khaki or something, and it's like not really a paint that's found anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to like really try and dive into the like, well, do I strip it and redo it, or do I, find an eBay person who's getting rid of all their old dry paints and hope for something,
Skari, what I want you to do is go find the roots and berries that made up Commando Khaki.
The khaki berry.
Hobbyist tears. Yes.
Yes, I find that thins paints quite well.
But yeah, that was so right up. There's no reason not to write it down. That's it. So, we say it, and then, I say it, and I follow it now, and I still fall victim to it. So don't let it, because sometimes you're not going to remember.
What I would do if I was stuck in a position where I couldn't figure it out, right? I would probably, as opposed to repainting the whole thing, paint the model or the base, because bases are, in this discussion, we'll say pretty simple, straightforward, rocks, earth. It's not, or maybe a tile even, whatnot. But as long as they're all consistent across the models, I would probably just do an oil wash on them to like sort of mask the fact that some of the tones may have changed.
Oh,
but actually give them all one color in common. So that way it could be a different light source on this unit as opposed to this unit. It may not be actually just a different color. It would still be more so blended in. And then something else I've been doing, because I'm from Japan, I've got a couple of just Tamaya. It's Mr. Hobby, actually. It's weathering colors. They're oil based. I don't know. They're in Japanese. They're flammable. I don't know what it is.
Send me a picture. I'll see if I can translate.
Yeah, it's called Sunday. Well, everyone Google Translate. It's called Sunday Wash, but I think they meant Sandy, so it's legit Japanese. After I do my oil washes, I've got some of these other colors, and I just put like a drop here, a drop there, and it'll mix into the oils, and it'll give an overall sort of dirty, washed pigment, almost like you used a hobby pigment over it. And that can kind of cheat your way, update your bases, get them all looking the same. Don't worry about the exact tones being the same, and give them a level of I guess, in commonness. It's not a word, but you get what I'm saying. So
uniformity?
Uniformity. Hey, look, I should have known that I'm in the Army, right? But
I'm just about ready to question your military cred right there.
Yeah, I'm ready to retire, man. But anyway, that's just me. That's how I would try to hack my way out of it if I couldn't just honestly have figured it out. I don't know. Anybody else got any ideas?
I think that's a great idea. Because really, the washes, let's say we're to just slap some Agrax Earthshade over the whole thing. It does give a tint to it, and brings a little bit of that uniformity to the colors. I mean, that you put it over.
Mm-hmm. And for those people out there who've never done an oil wash, do not be afraid to go to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever and get an odorless mineral spirits bottle for a couple of bucks. Go to get a cheap couple of paints. You don't need the expensive Winsor Newtons. You can get them if you want. Get like an ochre, get like an umber, get any of the browns or anything that's going to have some tones inside of it.
The old school names of the paint that every other paint used to be made from is what you just described.
Yeah, get those and like a black, right?
Titanium white.
Don't be scared.
Burnt umber.
Couple of keep the solo cups from your next party and mix them up.
Make you some happy trees.
Throw them away. Exactly, like easy peasy. And no looking back after that. I'm telling you, it's a game changer.
Well, you're talking about oil. I mean, we can talk about some hobby stuff or whatever. But you're talking about oils, and then with the mineral spirits, like you can get white spirits or something from a hobby thing that is like 10 times more expensive, but it's the same product.
Of course.
And the same for you talking about the paints too. But these oil paints from Michaels, or even like I use a lot of the AK stuff. I shouldn't say a lot. I use a couple of the AK things, or the brands that are really the AK brands, but some other name.
Right. If you have those in your area, yeah, I absolutely support using those products for sure.
I use them because there's one like engine oil, but it's probably just an olive drab paint from Michaels. I don't know if it is or not, but I bought it specifically because I wanted like engine oil, and it's an oil based thing, so you got to thin it down with the spirits, and it behaves differently than the washes, than the acrylic washes do. You got to clean your brushes differently also. So this is not like
cheap brushes.
Yeah, don't go into this casually. I think you can get by on the cheap, but you do need a set of brushes for it. Like get the $2.99 fine tip brush. Don't use your GW brush in the oil paints.
And what I'm talking about is application on bases. Very simple, straightforward. You can just kind of dump it on there and let it. It takes a long time to dry, but it'll bail you out. It'll add a lot of contrast. It'll add a lot of depth, and it'll settle completely differently. Now, when you go to actually do oil washes on models, don't listen to anything I just said. Go on YouTube, watch some people apply them, and do a test model so you can get how they flow. But they're
definitely different. The first time I used an oil wash was on the Adeptus Mechanicus crate thing, like the big building sets. Not the shipping containers, the other one, the big round one, the silos or whatever that you can get. The Manufactorum silos or whatever they are, the big round ones. They came in Necromunda. Or Kill Team, sorry. And I found that they took a lot longer to dry than I thought. That was like my first sort of like impression.
Yeah, you got to put it you got to be careful as you're working around the model. If you're working around it in your normal pace, your thumb will smudge it and stuff. But
yeah,
work on it at the end of the night. Sit it down. Come back the next day.
It's a good plan. Then the fumes will have dissipated also.
Right.
All right, cool.
Or go odorless.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back, talk about some more stuff. See you in a minute.
Right on.
FTN is brought to you by Discount Games Inc. Please visit them at www.discountgamesinc.com. And don't forget to ask Jay about ways to save even more on your hobby projects.
Hey everybody, we are back. Going to do a check-in on the Dark Kin while we got you here, Skari, as well.
Ooh, well, let's just say that there's going to be an awakening of some Phoenix Rising stuff, I guess.
At the time of this recording, we can see what's up on the community page. And they did a kind of an examination of Jane Czar and Drazar. And, Jane Czar, jury's going to be out. I want to see how she fits in with the whole picture of the army, and then what the extra things that are going to come from whatever that release is. But we got a pretty good idea of what Drazar can do.
Yeah, being a Drukhari player for many, many years, very excited to see Drazar get some love. First of all, plastic incubi, thank goodness. I'm so happy that you don't have to build those fine whatevers ones, or the metal ones. Even
the old metal ones, though, did look pretty cool.
The old metal ones are classics. I still have a couple of them that ride on Vect's Days of Destruction. They're sitting there, being his bodyguard. And I have 10 of the newer sculpt metal ones as well, before they turned into fine crap. And yeah, they're great. I've just painted them recently on the paint stream, and they look awesome. So I cannot wait to add this Drazar to bolster their strength.
How do you feel about this? We kind of gushed over the model last week, but how do you feel about this model compared to the old one?
I have the old one, so needless to say, I'll be using the old one for the time being. I will get the new one because I love painting new things. GW has a tendency to take unflattering pictures of their miniatures. I find that as soon as you take a look at it in your hands and see the posability of the model and kind of like take a look at it firsthand, you fall in love with it right away. So I'm going to take a look at it. I really like the model. It's in the old pose of Drazar and like that dancing pose that was in the Codex, where he's, got his two blades in like a circular formation. He's got this like weird, awkward stance. And I kind of like that it's hearkening to that piece of artwork.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm a fan.
Definitely one of the most flattering renditions of him.
Well, the last one, I mean, it was good. I mean, I thought it was good also, but it was, I guess, more of a product of the time.
Well, the old one's like, he's a praying mantis, right? You can just see he's ready, he's deadly, he's ready to strike. He's like insectoid-like, right? And now he's more of like, they changed and I'm pretty sure they must have had this Drazar like sculpt for a while, right? Just kind of waiting for the time to really release it. Cause it's in that same sort of style of the new Incubi. They wouldn't have really kind of worked on that Incubi line without sort of having concept designs for Drazar. So it's really cool that they finally found a way to sort of bring him into the lore, kind of getting him in this like face to face with an Eldar Phoenix Lord, that are sort of similar in role, in an entire shooty game.
I think, in the world of Psychic Awakening, no one's more appropriate to try and get you to go back to sleep than the Dark Eldar.
Yeah, well, they're trying to go around, and I think Vekt's a little angry. He's like, let's hunt some peeps. Who? The Muse, man. There was this big thing that opened a big rift, and then this lady went around killing things and finding crone swords and blasting craftworlds in half and stuff. I don't know. It's all madness.
Without his permission.
Yes. Vect kept trying to come in from reserves and kept getting vected by other people. So
Vected your Vect. Who vected your Vect? So many different layers of strategy here.
Yes. Plans within plans. Wait, we're still talking about Vect, right?
Which plan? Right. Yes. Who? It's your fault. What?
I like the model. I like how he's got that kind of Klingon hold on the sword and all the shattered soul stones. Like he's really been up to some hunting, some reaping.
The amount of soul stones that he has on himself, that is like insulting to the Eldari race. Really, that's just like
too, right?
What? Sorry,
they're Exarch soul stones too, aren't they?
Yeah, the Incubi themselves have to, I believe, a rite of passage for them is they have to essentially go hunt an aspect warrior of some sort, an Exarch, and then crush their soul stone to release their soul to Slanesh, essentially, which is
it's rude.
Or consume their essence or something. They do something bad with the soul inside. But that's like the ultimate.
Definitely something bad.
Definitely a very if I was an Azuriani craft welder, I'd be like, that's you have Bob's soulstone on your belt. You jerk, you killed Bob. So him having 10 of them, just adorning him, or 15 or how many he has. I'm going to count them. When I get them all, I'll count them. I'll paint them up.
He has the allay of them on.
He does. He has as many crushed soulstones on himself as 40k likes to put skulls on terrain.
Ooh, nice.
He has all the soul stones then.
Well, this guy, I mean, in a world, again, we're talking about where shooting is kind of king right now. His character, obviously gets to hide with all the character benefits and can do some damage when he gets there. From what we know about the Drakari book and then the stats we've seen, he seems to slide in pretty well if you're looking for a combat-based character.
He does, yeah. And, we haven't seen sort of the nuances of the book that they'll release Drazar in or whatnot. However, we did see the profile on the page. He's getting an extra wound, which I think is a big deal, right? Instead of being a 5-wounded character, he has 6 wounds, which is fantastic in my opinion. And all his attacks go to a minimum of 2 damage with a possibility of 4 damage, giving him something to tackle either vehicles or Primaris or, things that we're seeing a lot of that get in your face quick. So I think as a counterattack close combat character, you'll really fit a niche role within a fire-based Dark Eldar list that needs some punch sometimes to kind of either push forward or counterattack when somebody gets heavy in your line, like Raven Guard or, something that's just in your face really quickly.
So counter assault is what you're thinking.
I'm thinking he'll be more used for something like that. I feel like when I've used Incubi in the past with Drazar, one of the hardest things is getting them to where they want to go. That's like the number one thing. People see the Raider that has Incubi and Drazar in it, and they're like, that Raider is now dead. And now all my mortars are going to shoot at your Incubi, and now they're dead.
Yeah, but he can kind of slink around, though. Like, he can kind of just jump in where other things are, right?
Exactly. So he can. So like him as a single model. But in general, like, his vehicle, wherever he is, will be probably one of the most targeted things. And he alone won't break a line. Like, he's not going to go in and beat up an entire flank by himself unless your opponent was spread too thin. However, he can really bolster an assault if you're running up with, grotesques or Talos or witches or whatnot.
So Talos, I think he matches up really well against Primaris Space Marines, and we're going to see a ton of those.
Oh, yes. Yes, and I think his buff, even he buffs himself, gives himself that +1 to wound, because, he is an Incubi, he makes Incubi +1 to wound. So he's strength 4 base, he's strength 5 with his demi-claves, which means against like toughness 4, he's wounding them on 2s, and against toughness 5, he's wounding them on 3s, and against toughness, 6 to toughness 6 to 7 or 6 to 8, he'll be wounding them on 4s, right? And then 8, like, he can go up to a knight and wound a knight on 5s, and any 6 to wound will be 4 damage.
Yeah, I mean, that's taking out characters. That is doing a significant amount of damage on units. I mean, that's really when every single one of his converted attacks kills a Primaris Marine. I think he can collapse a flank.
I think he can, as I'm seeing right now, with use of some stratagem stuff, because you can use the onslaught stratagem on him, and if you make him a warlord, he rerolls all wounds because he has Hatred Eternal, right? At least in the Dark Eldar Codex. So he could wipe out 10 Primaris Space Marines in a single round of combat by himself.
When he 10 attacks.
When he charges, yes.
Okay. Yeah, he doubles attacks, right? Or fight twice.
So 12 attacks, right? Fighting twice, hitting on 2s and then rerolling all wounds if you make him a warlord. And with the ability to do extra attacks and extra damage for a couple of CP, I mean, you never know. He has that potential in him.
And he's got power from pain. He gets the benefit of that.
Yep.
So depending on what round it is, he'd be even more of a beat stick.
He could go toe to toe with some of the nastiest close combat things we're seeing in the game right now. Like, he'd kill a Centurion on one swing. You know what I mean? Like, he'd go in and be like, oh, I have 4 damage attacks sometimes. Bye-bye, Centurions.
Yeah. With pretty significant AP, right? I mean, we're talking about AP 3 or -2 when he swings.
depending on which one you're swinging.
So you got to have an invulnerable save to really even put up any kind of defense against this guy. I mean, again, not to be counterpoint, but I do think that he's going to be able to move pretty fast, and he's going to be able to sneak in. So with things like Grotesque, which still used, Talos, I think are really good right now. Still, I guess.
Oh, definitely.
Are they good? What are you playing right now? Because I know you've been trying out some new lists. Sorry not to take us off the Drazar conversation, but I think he has a place. And I think he, might even be a nice slot into what you got going on right now.
I've been considering right now, the list I've been playing is a combination of Cabal, Witch Cult, and some Coven. And it's based around the new, vehicle meta that we're seeing. So at the moment, the only way I could see him fitting in is sort of replacing some of the close combat elements that I've been using the Witch Cult for. However, you would have to sort of use him in conjunction with either the Reaver jet bikes to tie stuff up in combat so he can't get shot at by snipers or whatever, or use a net, like a shard net and impaler, to kind of have him pile in, fight, kill stuff, and then be able to pile into another unit that's held in combat by either a wrap or a net or something. Is it worth losing an entire unit? Maybe not, but we'll see what the points are in Chapter Proved and what they do with the actual incubi, because maybe I want to add some of them in. Who knows? Like, I'm leaving my options open, but needless to say, I'm going to try and switch things around to add them into the list, because I feel that instead of like a Killy Archon that has a close combat weapon and a Huskblade, if I can find a way to add Drazar in, I think that would be more powerful than just a close combat Archon.
Yeah, fair enough. So again, what are you taking right now? Like, what's your list you've been playing? I've seen some Jets.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So it's a Cabal of the Black Heart Battalion. I'm using an Archon with a Splinter Pistol and Venom Blade, bare bones. He's the Warlord. I'm using a secondary Archon with index choices, so Blaster, Huskblade, Phantasm Grenade Launcher. He's there for some easy some mortal wound output. Blaster and the Huskblade is actually quite nice in combat. Then we have 3 units of 5 Cabalite Warriors that are bare bones, no upgrades. 4 Cabal of Blackheart Venoms with 1 cannon and a splinter rifle, twin splinter rifles. 3 Ravagers, 2 Void Raven Bombers, and this is a recent addition to my list with missiles that I am really loving. The Strength 9 Void Lances have been excellent against Knights and Repulsors, the most. So I'm really liking those. Then I have a battalion of Cabal of the Red Grief, Cabal, Witch Cult Red Grief, which is advance and charge. 2 Succubuses with shard nets and impalers to hold infantry up in combat. 3 units of 5 witches with 1 shard net and impaler in each to hold units up and do some damage and counterattack. 1 Venom, that's for the Red Grief stratagem. So if you have your codex handy, open it up. If once you've attacked with a Red Grief infantry unit, they can, instead of piling in normally or consolidating normally, move 6 inches towards the closest Red Grief transport, which means that they can go in, attack, and then get out of combat before their enemy even gets to hit them, which is pretty cool. Or interrupt a combat, attack, and then fall back out of the combat, or move away from the combat before the enemy gets to strike them.
That's dirty. That's some tricks.
Yeah. It's actually one of the coolest things I like to do against the contorted epitome, because then they are no longer trapped in combat, because it's not a fallback move, which is awesome.
That's been getting a lot of play. I mean, it's a powerful ability. It locks down flyers, and stuff. So yeah, having what seems to be a low barrier counter to that, pretty cool.
Yeah, well, the recent tournament I went to, Attack X in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Kamloops, I used it quite effectively. I had a unit of 5 witches get charged by a Demon Prince Nurgle and a Mortarion. And then on the other side of the field, another Demon Prince had charged into my Reaver jet bikes that had attacked his engineers. So he had to kill the jet bikes before the jet bikes killed all his engineers. However, I was able to interrupt with the little unit against Mortarion, attack with them, and then run away, and they survived that combat because Mortarion wasn't able to hit them, which was awesome. Just a little story. Then I also have 2 units of Scourge with Haywire Blasters, so that's 2 units of 5 with Haywire. And then I take 7 Reaver jet bikes, and they have been the best unit in my army by far in the games that I've played with them.
Reaver jet bikes?
Yes, 7 Reaver jet bikes. They can advance and charge. They have a 40-inch threat range, or up to a 40-inch charge threat range, which is really fast. And they're designed to go and bad touch all the tank commanders that we're seeing recently. And things
what
like
you're
that.
referring to is locking them down. So you get on them in close combat, and then they have to fall back, and they're never shooting at that point unless they
exactly. So they have been invaluable just for that, or the threat of that. They also have the ability to fly over models and do mortal wounds with the witch cult stratagem, fly by something or other, and that's really good to snipe out some wounds on characters that are hidden in between all units, because you can do you roll 7 dices, and if they're infantry on 5 pluses, you're doing mortal wounds. And sometimes I've killed small 3 wounded characters just by flying over them and then going to charge tanks or stuff. They have been amazing, really really useful for 133 points for 7 of them. So they're decently priced. And the last thing I've added into the list is an auxiliary auxiliary detachment. I've never really done this before, but an auxiliary detachment of 1 Dark Creed Forge World Reaper.
Dark Creed. All right. Tell me what the trick is. What are you doing?
The trick is the stratagem for 2 CPs. An esoteric kill delivered from afar allows this tank to snipe characters with D6 Dark Lance shots.
That's not bad.
Okay. Okay.
And he's in the list. He's in the list to kill that silly Iron Hands relic person or Iron Father. So he's just there to make sure that I can kill those repulsors.
Oh man, I mean, if you're gonna go for sniper overkill, you better do it on that guy. That's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah. So let's just say, and this Reaper is not small. It's got the most giant sail and big gun prodding out of its prow. And let me tell you,
it's got that big cannon, though, right? It looks
yes,
like
absolutely.
a Necron thing with a sail.
Yeah, and it does indeed soak up a lot of firepower once somebody knows what it can do. Or so it doesn't last very long, but it definitely acts like and 3 Ravagers. I don't know if I talked about them, but my 3 Disintegrator Ravagers are in there as well.
That's a lot crammed in. Dark Eldar are very point efficient on just about every unit.
Yes, they definitely are. So fingers crossed. We'll see if we get slapped by chapter approved. I don't like speculating. I like getting it in my hands and sort of reading it for myself and making assumptions once I have it in my hands. So we'll see, because combined with that, / maybe, I don't know, some of the cool, they hinted at some of the build your own cabal and build your own coven and build your own witch cult sort of things in the posts on Warhammer Community. So I'm really curious to see what kind of concoctions we can brew out of that.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I want to tell you about my secret tech. Relic Contemptor Dreadnoughts. Not the Mortis Dreadnoughts. The Relic Contemptor Dreadnoughts. So there is the Relic tax to deal with them.
They're so good.
Yeah, with C-beams.
Nice.
Yeah, conversion beams are that sleeper hit.
Yeah, so the C-beams, we chatted a little bit about them in the past. You've seen them in Chaos List. But the Relic Contemptor has a 9-inch move. He's got 12 wounds. Toughness 7. It's about 170 points in this configuration. The C-beams has a 72-inch range, and for every 24 inches between you and the target from the firing model and the target, you increase the strength by 2, and it starts at 6. So at 48 inches away, you're looking at strength 10, neg 3 AP, D3 damage.
You can plug that guy in the middle of the corner, right at the back of the board, and he can reach any part of the table.
Yeah, and also, it not only increases the strength, it also increases the damage by D3 damage. So it continues at, basically get stronger and stronger. And then, if a model is removed from play as a casualty due to wounds caused by this weapon, then the target unit suffers 2d6 additional strength 6 AP 0 1 damage, hits.
It's great at clearing chaff.
Yeah, you could, you cannot move and fire this weapon, but if you happen to be more than 40 inches away, like in the corner like you're suggesting, then you're shooting strength 10, 3d3 damage apiece.
Yeah.
If you need it for firing against screen units, then you don't care about the extra. You just want to cause that 1 casualty with a neg 3 save and strength 6. So you're pretty close to wounding most chafe, I guess, right?
Yep.
Then you get the extra 2d6 shots, 2 shots for 170 points that do that. You're looking at tons and tons of stuff. Very survivable in Marines right now. You're going to get some target confusion in the Iron Hands list.
Yeah, and it's important to note that those 2d6 are hits. They're just straight hits.
Yeah,
so you don't have
to roll to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. So if you want to they're good against tanks, good against chaff, and 2 of them, that means you have 4 of these things shooting downrange?
No, just 2. Just in the list, there's only 1 with 2 C-beams, so it's just 2 shots. But with in the Iron Hands list, there's going to be Executioners. There's going to be, in my particular variant, the 3 Stormhawks, and then probably a Leviathan. So what do you shoot at?
Definitely not the Leviathan, because that thing won't die.
Well, it's a little bit more survivable than the Contemptor, but the Contemptor's in a similar situation.
Well, you can make the Contemptors, are they under 10 wounds?
No.
Okay. So you can't make them characters.
Yeah.
So riddle me this, Paul. What are your troops in that army?
Well, you can make them characters. They just can't get the benefit of hiding next to units.
Yeah.
I have incursors and scouts.
Regular cheap scouts? Nothing.
Yeah. 1 unit of cheap scouts and then 2 units of incursors. So it's kind of a low body count.
Yeah. What's your overall model count on that?
Oh, it's not a ton, but it's very durable stuff.
Well, if they kill your guy with the Ironstone, like Skari's saying, you have anything with multiple wounds you're falling back on? Like, well, I guess we know you don't, but yeah.
Nope. Got going in with a captain on a bike to be able to scoot around and beat things down. Basically, I would just want to be in your face with as much stuff as possible to even further help with the target confusion and just wearing people out with his punishing fire. I think the C-beams, the C-beams are going to be very useful in that because they allow you to threaten high toughness things, high wound things. So maybe while you're moving into range of positioning, you get a little more options. Whatever.
And
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, it's not a huge threat, right? Like there's going to be a lot more pressing things that are right in its face.
They're going to be shooting at the Repulsor Executioner or the Leviathan or the Captain that's about to hit them and whatever, or trying to hit the planes. I think there's a lot of play in the list. This is somewhat untested though, so don't take my absolute word for it. But I do want to draw your attention to the Relic and Nifter Dreadnought with the C-beams that you don't see very often in the Imperial list. I think there's a big place for them now in 40k.
Yeah.
If you get lucky,
one place in particular.
What was that?
Oh, one place in particular, so far as Iron Hands are concerned.
Well,
you won't be seeing my Blood Angel Contemptor Dreadnought with a plasma cannon.
Fair enough. That's fair. I think it's funny that you can't take this particular configuration on the Mortis, but you can take it on the regular Relic.
Interesting. Well, I mean, if I remember correctly, the Mortis was designed as an anti-aircraft weapon, so far as lore junkies are concerned. So perhaps a conversion beam wasn't very good when pointed at the sky. Who knows?
That's a good point.
Well, doesn't the power of the conversion beam have to converge on a certain point? I guess that would be hard when shooting at the sky as well, right?
Well, the idea is that it's like tracking it the whole time and it's building up power, I guess, maybe. Narratively, that would be the argument. But if you're just tapping it,
I mean, if that's a skill shot, all they need to do is recruit some 16-year-old esports guys. They could probably do that against aircraft.
All I know is you can still shoot at flyers with this thing, and you can Overwatch with it. I don't know. I think that's
how come you're not running 6 flyers?
What would you take as the 6?
The Stormhawks. No, the ones with the auto cannons or whatever. You're running the ones with the dual assault cannons underneath, right?
Yep.
The other one, is that the Talon?
Oh no! So there's a Stormhawk Interceptor, which is like the closed compartment jet one.
It's like the jet fighter.
Yeah, with the 2 independent assault cannons on the wings.
There's the one that's +1 to hit ground troops, and it'll also be immune to shooting its -1.
You're talking about the Storm Talon is the one with the strafing run and that kind of stuff.
Yes, that's the one you're talking about, right?
No, I'm talking about the jet with the 2 independent assault cannons and the ionic cyclical blaster and the heavy bolters.
Yeah, so I think the other one I'm talking about is actually better.
It's a ton of points, man. I should say it's more points.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't have any penalties. It's so good.
I mean, I guess that's an option.
And, I don't know. I just like the fact that +1's on the ground and it doesn't suffer the -1 for moving with the Iron Hands benefits. Plus, it still gets all the resiliency from the stone. You're built around Relic anyway, the first turn. So it's like threat overload, and it's another, aspect of, once again, it's a flyer. So, yay, -1.
It could
I
be.
I just think they're better than the Executioners, to be honest.
Well, I've also thought about, things like the Storm Eagles and Fire Raptors based on other people's success.
Yeah, Fire Raptors would definitely be quite nasty.
I mean, because he gets all those stacked up rules. I mean, I don't want to necessarily bog us down into Iron Hands talk again, but just want to talk about the C-beam itself.
Nothing to see here. Move along, move along.
I mean, look, they're good. They're very good. I think that's anything that helps Marines be back on the table is also a good thing, since they're kind of just the iconic things that get a lot of people into the game. But you might be right. The threat overload with flyers. I mean, heck. What is it?
Really well.
I think they're 170 points or something for the Storm Talon.
Yeah, they're just a few points less than the 30k, like the Punisher, the Sicarian Punisher.
Well, the Stormhawk Interceptor is 159, and then the Storm Talon, I guess it depends on how you load it out. It's I guess around the 170 range. It has less options it's less things of what you can shoot at. Like I like the Storm Hawk because of being able to fire at multiple things.
Judgment Free is a Iron Hand safe space, so I mean, it's whatever you want.
Why not test it out, right? Maybe I will try to get a game in with 6 of them, and a Fire Raptor.
I'm going counter to what everyone else says is good, and like me, I'm running aggressors and Primaris and normal stuff. I actually like the the resiliency of the infantry. And when I get done building my list in its final form, after I update some of my models from the 40k stuff, I'm going to be playing the tanks or stuff that eliminates the stuff that you have that eliminates my troops, and then just lean on the strengths of having stalker bolt rifles and whatnot and Primaris wounds.
Well, let's talk
see
about
if I can play that game
for a second. If you've got a stat that increases your durability, isn't it better to do it on something that gets wounded less already so it lives even longer? As long as there's like some kind of like point ratio that they're otherwise equal to?
There's an efficiency there, you're saying, to be had?
Yeah, because like on a toughness 7 model, toughness 6 model, you're getting wounded less often. So the wounds that do get through, same chance of blocking them, thinking each die rolls independently. So isn't it better to have the higher toughness like of a vehicle?
In a game where outside of other discussions, there's no worry about board control and or model count, I think that you win that argument. But I think that there's just other factors that weigh into that decision as well. That not to skirt the question.
No, it's a fair counter. But board control. If there's like, what are you trying to control if you're killing everything? The board is yours.
Well, I agree, and fundamentally, if we're playing on Planet Bowling Ball, but I think that I just think there's efficiencies to be had in taking infantry. I don't think the be all end all is good. I think everyone's going to overtool to worry about what you're talking about right now. I think
because everyone would be coming for vehicles or gunning. Like Skari got a Forge World model to stick in just to kill this guy.
So do we think that there's going to be more than one Iron Hands player at every local tournament? Maybe there definitely will be at the larger tournament scene. Okay, so maybe it pays to tool in that environment. But if everyone gets spooked by internet rumor and they go over tool and then you show up and it's I think there's a space in there you can be counter to meta.
I think we've seen that. Yeah. I saw recently there was like a top 10 list. I believe it was a GT over in London, but I can't remember quite for sure. And there were quite a few Imperium lists in there. I think most of them were Imperium. And there were, I think, at least 5 Iron Hands lists in the top 10, including 2nd, 3rd, 4th. But the first was actually a White Scars list. So the first place army, which undoubtedly had to engage with one of these Iron Hands armies at some point, I believe, was able to take the top. And I think that there's a couple of reasons for that. I think, one, people are going to build for an anti-Iron Hands meta, which means that in a game or an army where you can master the movement phase and position yourself well, that gives you an advantage, a mobility advantage.
Jump 40-something inches, right?
Yeah.
Well,
maybe you're not killing everything, but you can still win games.
Every Marine army that's been released, arguably, maybe not Ultramarines so much as Scars and Raven Guard, have tricks that work very well to beat Iron Hands, right? Like, don't get me wrong, like raw power, standalone, no answers, Iron Hands, take it. I don't think anyone's going to try to argue that right now. But if you're a cunning player and know what you're doing, you have answers. And it's, will you be able to pull off your tricks better than the Iron Hands player can remove you from the table with their specific tools? And I'm saying, I guess what I'm trying to do is build in a way that is less susceptible to tricks than just worried about trying to blow them off the table and trying to, I don't know.
I'm not trying to be too cavalier by saying kill everything either. I'm saying that these gun platforms are pretty good at picking up models.
They just do, though.
Yeah. And if they just hang out longer, then by nature they'll be able to pick up more models. That's really what I was trying to say, not trying to be too over the top with the commentary.
I completely understood what you mean, and there's a place for that. Definitely. That's the old Tyranid duel back in the day, the Monster Carnifex, the Monster Mash Tyranids. Like, it was just Carnifexes with Twin Link Devourers that would just overwhelmingly blow you off the table. So it didn't really matter what you did, but I don't know. We'll see. Just curious.
No, I think you bring up a good point with overwhelming things with flyers. I mean, then maybe that's it. What is 170 times 6?
Too many.
So maybe the magic answer isn't, spam as many as you can. Maybe
That's
there's
1,000 points. Oh, it's only 1,000 points. So the other 1,000 points could be just duders.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I don't know if that works. I don't know if that's better than the Executioner and Leviathan type combo, but it's worth thinking about. And those things aren't even necessarily mutually exclusive. You can still have 6 flyers and
squeeze some stuff.
You're not having much else, and that's probably not the answer, but something to think about.
I agree.
Well, guys, that's all I want to talk about tonight.
All right, gentlemen.
Awesome.
Yeah. Skari, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for
Josh
having me.
Chris also, as always, as well.
No worries. Can't wait to talk about Lord of the Rings next week.
Well, we know we got some big stuff coming. I don't know if it's going to include Frodo, but,
We'll have to wait till second breakfast.
I don't think Frodo and big stuff go together well.
Don't talk about nerdy stuff. I'm ready to talk about Lord of the Rings.
Oh, great. More Lambus
Gotta
bread.
get my Gandalf on.
That's it.
Can you play Gandalf?
And you.
Yeah.
Is he competitive?
Gandalf has like 15 different models even.
Yeah, he's super good, man.
Might have to learn more about this. All right. I'll see y'all next week.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.
Take care. Thanks again.
Handle the truth.